Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Joe, and I want to welcome you to this week's episode. It's been about 3 weeks since I was last with you. I appreciate you hanging in there and waiting for me to get back. I hope everyone's doing well. I know I had a wonderful time in Orlando, learning, growing, and connecting with others who are chasing their dream. There's just so much I learned that I want to share with you. However, I'm going to try and keep it reasonable, whatever that means. So let's dive right in. As we live out our lives, we transition through things pretty much in the same manner. When we're introduced to a new concept or idea, we have very little experience or knowledge in how to deal with or process the new information. It just depends on the scope of the change, and this can equate to some very stark and painful experiences, or it can simply be uncomfortable ones. Let's take, for example, watching a child transition from crawling to walking. Initially, the child doesn't even know what walking is. Everything is hands, knees, and feet as they crawl around trying to get into everything. Eventually, they begin to understand the concept of walking by watching others, and they start to experiment for themselves, falling down a lot in the process. Then there comes a point in time when they finally begin to take steps on their own, and they start really practicing their new skill they're gaining experience with, and eventually they master this strange new task in their life called walking. Now, it doesn't really matter what the task is in life. We all navigate it pretty much the same way. And these steps are what we call the 7 levels of awareness. These are critical steps to understand because if you are on level 2 in an area of your life, there's a natural progression of steps that you have to go through to develop mastery. And as you will see as we go through these steps, too many times we stay at these really lower levels to our own detriment. And in all fairness, in many of the more difficult and complicated areas of our lives, we really need the help and influence of mentors and coaches to get us through these blind spots. And trust me, we all have blind spots. Let's get started with level 1. This is called the animal level of awareness. This is where we all start. I'm going to continue using the example of a child for this scenario. When a child's born, it has a very limited level of awareness. It only knows a couple of things, the primary ones being hunger. If you've ever been around an infant for very long, what happens when they get hungry, or tired, or need to be changed? Most infants will cry trying to get the attention of the closest adult who can help them. This is an animal level of awareness. It's where we all start when we are introduced to new concepts or ideas. We defend, retract, act out, throw temper tantrums, ask my wife if you need confirmation, rebel, deny, and refute the new information without a lot of intellectual involvement. We're animalistic in our responses. Level number 2 is the mass level of awareness. This is where we follow the crowd level. It's a little bit above the animal level of awareness, but not much. Think about what happens when you're in an unfamiliar location, particularly with a crowd. If you're anything like me, you're going to look around you and see what everyone else is doing, and then copy that behavior. Sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's bad. Where we tend to see this reflected quite a bit is in our thinking, in areas such as sex, religion, politics. Many people just never escape the second level of awareness. They become so trapped in their own thinking that they never consider the alternatives. Let's go back to the example of a child. Imagine what would happen if as a child you never considered the fact that there might be a better answer than crawling around on your hands and knees all day. What would happen if walking never turned into running? And yet, this is how we approach many of the mental models in our own lives. Let's go ahead and move on to level 3, aspiration. Level 3 is where we begin to aspire to be, to have, and to do more. We begin to transition from that herd mentality and start to process information at a brand new level. From an adult perspective, this is when we start to self-actualize, and we begin to seek out a greater depth. There's still this tendency towards herd mentality, but the ability to question the status quo arises. The possibility that something might exist out of what we already accept and know to be true begins to manifest. I want to take you on a personal journey real quick through the first 3 levels of awareness in my life. My experiences in life have been colorful and diverse. This has afforded me some very wonderful experiences and some not so wonderful experiences. To keep this brief and not bore you with my sometimes sordid past, let me just say that I had a lot of personal growth to do by the time I hit my first active duty station at age 18. I was the guy who was quiet to the point people weren't sure if I was a threat to myself or to them. I had a very, very dark outlook on life and had a personal life expectancy of somewhere around in my early to mid 20s. In my view, it would be luck alone that got me past that age. I was a classic level 1 animalistic level of awareness in so many ways. Life was cheap, and the thought of death was pretty much a comfort. Through some good associations in the military and the development of one or two quality friends, I eventually transitioned from a level 1 to a level 2 awareness, mass mentality. I did most of what everyone else was doing. If they went drinking, I went drinking. If they were cussing, I was cussing. There just wasn't a lot that wasn't on the table. If it was good enough for the crowd, then it was good enough for me. I did what many of you might consider some pretty crazy and reckless things. Eventually, however, I transitioned to a level 3, or an aspiration level of awareness. I reached a point where I wanted more out of my life. I knew that there had to be more to life, and I wanted some of whatever that might be. I wouldn't say that a lot changed on the outside, but at this point, inside my head, I was searching for something more. My life was getting ready to change for the better. And this brings us to level number 4, the individual. And unfortunately, that's as far as I'm going to take it this week. Now, I know, but I'm really not that sorry. There's 4 more levels I want to go through with you next week, time permitting, and I want to do them in depth so that you really get what I'm talking about. So stay tuned. Understanding the different levels of awareness is really key to understanding where you are on certain tasks and thought processes. Knowing where you are will allow you to transition some levels more quickly and to move your personal growth journey along quite a bit faster. Now, wouldn't it be nice to reach your dreams faster? Or maybe just reach your dreams at all? Understanding the levels of awareness will help you understand why you haven't achieved your dreams in life yet. And the key word is yet. If you want more out of your life, tune in next week as I go through the last 4 levels of awareness. Let's do a real quick recap. Level 1 is the animal level of awareness. Level 2 is the mass or herd mentality level of awareness. And level 3 is aspiration level of awareness. Until next week, I hope you have a blessed week, and don't hesitate to reach out to me on my social platforms or shoot me a personal email, joe@joeleeconnections.com. This stuff can be really tough material to navigate, and I want to see you succeed. So until next time, I believe in you, and I believe in your dream. God bless.